Hi everyone and welcome to English Digest. I'm Pat.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And today we're looking at the evolving roles of modern voice actors, and we're very lucky to have Stephanie here because she has done some voice acting.
I have. In fact, I was the English-speaking Xiaohu for a long time here. But yeah, I do a lot of, I work here, of course, but I have other jobs that are different from voiceover. Voiceover, you dub a video, for example. But voice acting, you actually are usually dubbing the voice for some sort of character, usually cartoons. We get a lot of cartoons that come in.
I've done voice acting on the radio. I've recorded a few audio plays at ICRT. And it's a different skill to acting on stage, which I've had a lot more experience of doing. You really have to sort of find that. You have to go through it a bunch of times until you find that character's voice. And then it feels like once you've got that, then you almost have to go back to the start and find that voice to make it consistent and make that voice do different things.
Yeah.
It's angry, but it's not your angry voice. It's the character's angry voice.
Yeah, so Pat, if you guys don't know, is actually an actor in real life. And it is different acting on a stage. I've done that as well. Singing usually, musical theater. But it is different than voice acting where you're not actually using your body. You're usually putting a voice to some animated character. So it's fun.
And you have to really make that character unique and make it stand out in different ways.
Yeah, and sometimes we use our bodies to express emotion. You don't have that if you're a voice actor. You have to do everything through the sound of your voice. So we're going to talk about how being a voice actor has actually been changing over time, especially in Japan.
Yes.
And I think a lot of our listeners will be interested in that. First, though, guys, we're going to read through today's article.
Voice acting is the art of bringing animated characters to life through voice. Without the expressive performance of the voice actor, a character would lack emotion and realism. However, the voice acting industry is now witnessing a couple of distinct shifts. In Japan, voice actors known as seiyuu are evolving into multi-talented idols. Beyond their traditional behind-the-scenes roles in recording booths, seiyuu may need to engage in media interactions, host fan events, release music albums, and perform live concerts. This expansion into various entertainment sectors has raised seiyuu's status to that of mainstream celebrities. Some famous examples include Nana Mizuki and Mamoru Miyano. Mizuki has staged many solo music concerts in large venues, while Miyano has extended his performance scope to include stage plays and TV dramas. In contrast, in the Western film and television industry, there's a growing trend of replacing specialist voice actors with well-known celebrities in anything from major feature films to TV shows. This practice became prominent with actor Robin Williams' performance as the genie in Disney's 1992 animated film Aladdin. His star power and improvisational skills added a new dimension to the character in the movie, setting a trend for future animated films. However, this trend has sparked debate, as some argue it overlooks the specialized skills of professional voice actors. These changes reflect the dynamic nature of voice acting. As the industry continues to adapt to new cultural trends and audience preferences, the future role of voice actors remains an open question.
Okay, folks, let's dive in. We're going to talk about the evolving roles of modern voice actors. If something evolves, it changes over time from something that can be very different after it's evolved, depending on what you're talking about. So let's get into this. We kind of described what a voice actor does. Here, our first paragraph says that voice acting is the art of bringing animated characters to life through voice. And I think everybody knows what animations are. We call them cartoons as well. An animated movie, though, is usually longer than a cartoon that is on TV. Those are usually shorter. But that's changed over time as well. So it's kind of fun to look and see what is new in this particular field.
Yeah, so voice acting, it's an important skill because without the expressive performance of the voice actor, without their ability to add emotion, feeling, a unique thing that matches the description of the character as you see the drawings, then a character would lack emotion and realism. And I'll add, we haven't mentioned this in the article, but this is just as, and sometimes even more important in video games. The voice acting for video games is a huge deal because it adds to the feeling of getting into the game and being in the world.
Yeah.
If the voice acting isn't great, then it can really damage a game. But if it's on point, it makes the game so much more enjoyable. And they add realism. Realism is the quality of being very like real life. It sounds so these characters are animated and you can usually tell unless they're really good. But with the real voice acting, then you can feel this is a real person. This isn't just a drawing on the screen. This is somebody who's got goals and desires and a history behind them.
Yeah.
That's what we mean by adding realism. They don't just seem like, they seem real, not just like silly voices that someone's doing for something.
Pat used that expression on point, which is really great. It just means it hits it exactly right. It feels right. It's on point. It's just the way it should be. I know sometimes if the acting isn't good, it feels flat. We'll describe a character as being flat or sort of 2D, instead of 3D, three-dimensional, feeling like a real person. And I've also done a lot of video games, and it does matter to get the voice right. Usually we're given several characters.
Yeah.
So, it gets kind of confusing, but you want to make that person so real that as the person is playing the game, they get drawn into that different world that they're living in. So it does matter. And so that's the realism they're going for. That's what their goal is. It says here, however, the voice acting industry is now witnessing a couple of distinct shifts. So there's some changes that you can see clearly happening. That's what that sentence means.
So the first shift, we're going to talk about what's going on in Japan. And in Japan, voice actors known as seiyuu, and we do think it has that double U sound at the end, are evolving into multi-talented idols. So previously, the voice actor would have just been a voice actor. They don't need to look like anything in particular. They just need to have a good range of voices, an expressive voice, and a voice that can kind of keep going for, and do a lot of work, not just 20 minutes and then I need a break kind of thing. So they're now becoming multi-talented, which means they've got many skills. They can sing, they can act in real life as well as voice acting, and they can maybe do other things as well. They have many talents. They are multi-talented.
If you're an idol, you're someone that other people love or admire a lot. When I was growing up, we would call movie stars matinee idols. Matinee is just another word for seeing a film at the theater. So matinee idols. We've got a lot of idols out there, as most of you know. It could be a sports idol that you have. I have an idol that I look up to that is just a great teacher. So everybody can have different kinds of idols, people they look up to and want to follow in their footsteps, or maybe they just think that they've contributed a lot to their own lives. So these are idols. These are people that, of course, are looked up to in Japan, these voice actors. I didn't know that they had evolved into different sectors now. We're going to talk about how it's changed over there.
Yeah, I always think of idols, especially in like the South Korean industry, the Japan entertainment industry. They're people who they release albums, they're in TV shows, they do movies, they do live concerts, and they're available, you get posters of them, they appear on lots of advertising deals. They often seem like manufactured, they're trained from a young age and they're produced as idols. That's how they're marketed. They're desirable to particularly young people, teenagers.
That's so true. So what do they do? Well, beyond their traditional behind-the-scenes role, a behind-the-scenes role would be someone who contributes to a movie that you never see on screen. Maybe it's the costume designer. Maybe it's one of the guys that hold some of the equipment or the cameraman. There can be a lot of people behind the scenes contributing to the success of something that you never see. So behind their traditional or beyond, going beyond that, their traditional role of just being in a recording booth, that's where they typically used to work. They would just be in a recording booth and they would be matching that animated character with their voice and kind of acting that way. A booth is used in different ways in English. I use it the most when I talk about going into a restaurant and getting a booth to sit at instead of a table. It's usually 2 benches and a long table between you. That can be a booth. But we also use booth to talk about kind of an enclosed space, like a telephone booth that one person will walk into and try to make a call. We don't really do those anymore because everyone has phones. Or it could be a voting booth where you go and you vote, and you might have a curtain that, surrounds you, so it gives you some privacy. Well, these are recording booths. Right now, Pat and I are in a recording booth, and it's got an extra heavy door and extra heavy insulation, so it masks the sounds. You can't hear the sounds from outside the booth, so that the recording turns out better. So that was one of their traditional roles. They would just record in a recording booth.
But now they need to do other things. Seiyu may need to engage in media interaction, so talking with reporters and appearing on TV. Host fan events, so, go to a convention, do the chat, do your voice so maybe everyone knows.
Comic-Con sort of thing.
Release music albums so that singers and perform live concerts, either singing or acting as that character, I guess. So that's a lot of different things
Very different.
to get into. And I'm sure some voice actors are like, great, I can be recognized for my work and I'm not just the character. People have an idea now who I am.
Yeah, if they want to be famous, especially, I would rather not be famous, but get to do
and get paid.
And get to do some creative things in life. Yeah, I prefer people don't know who I am. But if you're going to go and perform on a stage, live means right then, it's not recorded, you're doing it as you speak, then people are going to get to know what you look like and who you are. So this expansion into various entertainment sectors has raised seiyu's status to that of mainstream celebrities. Yeah, before we didn't know who they were, and now they're sort of on the same level as these mainstream celebrities who are famous for whatever they're famous for. We should probably take a break here and listen to our Chinese teacher for a bit, and then come back and we'll finish up with this article.
Hello everyone, 我是派老师。今天讲解的是5月20号 Unit 10 The Evolving Roles of Modern Voice Actors。这个单元是一篇克漏字测验，内容和声优或配音员有关。关注日本动画的同学，喜欢各个角色在故事中的表现之外，有很大一部分应该也是受到人物角色声音的吸引。声优恰如其分地透过自己声音诠释凸显故事的张力。如果没有声优尽善尽美的配音，再好的动画都可能会失色不少。好，我们现在一起来解题。请同学看到第一段，开头提到配音 voice acting， 这是一门透过声音让动画角色栩栩如生的艺术。接着是第一题的题干，句子一开头说，如果没有配音员空格的表演，角色就会缺乏情感和真实感。第一题4个选项都是形容词，这一题是词汇题，必须利用上下文判断，选出最适合的词汇。我们一起看4个选项的中文意思。A. Imaginary 想象的， B. Cooperative 乐意合作的， C. Expressive 富有表现力的， D. Grateful 感激的。我们看上下文，以上下文做判断，所以第一题选 C. Expressive 富有表现力的。再来，接着请看第二题。第二段开头提到，在日本，配音员被称为声优，而他们在发展 成多才多艺的偶像。除了在录音间的传统幕后角色之外，声优可能会需要参与媒体互动、主持粉丝活动，甚至于发行专辑，还有办现场的演唱会等等。接着是第二题题干所在的句子，这种扩展到各种娱乐空格的情况，已经将声优的地位提升到主流名人的水准。第二题4个选项都是名词，这一题也是词汇题，我们要用上下文做判断，找出最合适的词汇。我们一起看4个选项的中文意思。A. Sectors， 这里所指的是经济活动的领域、不同的产业等等。再来 B. Agent， 可以是经纪人。好 C. Devices， 就是装置。D. Episodes， 那可以是电视剧的一集一集等等。那依据前后文，我们第二題答案選 A. Sectors。
We'll take a short break and we'll be right back with part 2. Hi everybody, welcome back. So in that sentence we started with the word expansion. This is the noun form of expand. If something expands, it gets bigger or longer or grows into new areas. And this is the noun form of it, so it's just when something has done that. So we've seen how people who are voice actors are now doing loads of other things, and so they're expanding into different entertainment sectors. Entertainment, of course, is just doing things that make people happy, make people entertained, give people a chance to have some fun and take pleasure from an activity. By entertainment sectors, we mean things like music, film, TV, video games, toys. All of those are different sectors or sections of entertainment.
Yeah, parts. A sector is just a great word to talk about different parts of something. We also talk about the entertainment industry, you know, a lot when we're talking about anything that's produced, for example, in Hollywood, TV shows, movies. Now we've got streaming companies that are also producing things. And of course, we've got video games, which are so popular, especially here, I know. And even in America, I know my nieces and nephews really have gotten into video games. Now, when you're talking about mainstream, you're talking about things that a lot of people enjoy or things that are accepted by most people in a society. We'll often talk about mainstream media, which usually includes the big newspapers and the big TV stations where you get your news from, as opposed to independent media, which are smaller. Maybe they're smaller journalists or companies that are on online that you can find, things like that. So mainstream, just remember, just means accepted by a lot of people in society. A lot of people know about them. So these mainstream celebrities were always famous, but now these folks that used to be behind the scenes have become famous as well.
Some famous examples include Nana Mizuki and Mamoru Miyano. Now, I haven't heard of these people, and that would be kind of the idea in the past. But we've got some examples of what they do. Mizuki has staged many solo music concerts in large venues.
Wow.
So a solo concert, that means she goes and sings by herself. She's not part of a group. She's a solo singer. And a venue is just a place where an event is held or where something happens. So a large venue could be a big sports stadium, an arena, a great big concert hall, and she gives big music concerts at these large places. While Miyano has extended his performance scope to include stage plays and TV dramas. So your scope is kind of like the area or subject matter that you deal with. So in the past, his scope would have been, I'm a voice artist, I'm a voice actor, I just do voices for characters in cartoons and video games. My scope, my kind of relevant area of work has expanded now. So I do plays on stage, I do TV dramas, I do other stuff. We could say I have branched out to do more things.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it. So yeah, your scope is just a range of things that you are involved with. I noticed here our article says he has extended his performance scope. You could also say he has expanded his performance scope as well. So Now he's doing more than ever before. Moving on to the next paragraph. In contrast, in the Western film and television industry, there's a growing trend, something that we're seeing a lot of, replacing specialist voice actors with well-known celebrities in anything from major feature films. Feature films are the ones that are the primary film that you go to see. We used to have smaller films before the main film. Feature film was like the 2-hour or 3-hour film. And they're also replacing specialist voice actors in TV shows. A specialist here is being used as an adjective, and it just means someone who is focused on something in particular. They have a lot of skill or knowledge in one particular subject. So if you're using it like this as an adjective, it has to come before a noun. It only comes before a noun. I see this used in British English more than American English. We usually just say a specialist or a voice actor specialist. We would use it as a noun that way. But here, it is an adjective, and it's just someone who's really good at a particular thing. So these are well-known actors that are famous already, but they're now replacing the specialist voice actors that we didn't know about. We just knew their voices.
Yeah, and it's I can get why studios do it because they can advertise like we've got these extra famous actors doing these things and that brings in more, studio money, that brings more advertising revenue. And I have noticed it because when I was a kid, like Disney movies, all the voice cast would be people you'd never heard of, and you'd have to go back and like really look them up.
Totally.
Who are these people?
Yeah.
But now a Disney movie or an animated movie, 50% of the cast will be celebrities that you already know about.
I know. Maybe some of the smaller parts, but even them, then they're taking these movie stars and putting them in those parts. So it's kind of sad because there really is a special skill to these specialist voice actors we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, we're not saying that a Hollywood actor can't be a good voice actor.
Sure.
Of course, some of them have got that skill. They've got that talent. But it does mean that I think the job opportunities for specialist voice actors kind of shrinks a bit. And it's harder to make it in that business than before.
It is. We're going to give you an example here. This practice became prominent with actor Robin Williams, who gave a performance as the genie in Disney's 1992 animated film Aladdin.
Yeah.
Aladdin had already been made before, but they remade it with Robin Williams, and his Aladdin was so fun and out there, kind of crazy.
Yeah, the genie. I was only about 10 years old at the time.
Yeah.
I'd never seen anything like it. Because I didn't know who Robin Williams was.
Oh, he's insane.
It was just so. I was laughing myself into tears in the movie theater at how funny the genie was.
Yeah. Well, there's only one Robin Williams. Unfortunately, he has passed away. It's a sad story that we'll have to look at some other time, but his performance was amazing. He had a lot of star power. People knew who he was. And he was also really good at improvising. To improvise means you make up something on the spot. Nobody gives you, what you're supposed to say or sing, and you can do it. You can come up with something out of your own imagination and creativity. And that was Robin Williams. He would often do lines or come up with lines that weren't in the script that were funnier than the ones that had been written.
Yeah.
So he was an amazing, amazing guy. He added his improvisational skills, added a new dimension to the character. How would you describe dimension?
I would say it's an aspect or a feature of anything. Yeah. So by adding somebody who could do, because if you see that version of Aladdin, he does impressions of many famous other celebrities. Yeah. He's doing like funny lines, quick lines, and the writers and the animators were like, okay, now we have to change it to include this new joke. Yeah. We have to bring this new thing in. And it turned it from what would have been, I'm sure, a pretty funny character into this absolute star of the movie that makes it
He
so
stole
good.
the movie, you could say.
Yeah, so it turned it from a supporting character into, like, people will watch it just for the genie.
He was never supposed to be the major point, but, I mean, because he's just the genie, right? But he became why people wanted to go and see that many times, multiple times. He was just so funny. His mind was so fast that you couldn't even hear all of his jokes the first time.
Yeah.
He was amazing.
Yeah, and so by adding a new dimension, it just means it makes the character even more real, even funnier, even larger than life, and goes to places that voice actors hadn't actually gone to before in terms of what he did with this character. And that set a trend for future animated films because people wanted to capture that magic again. And they also wanted a big star power name in there that could, attract people to see what goes on with it.
And they were able to attract a lot of viewers. So these changes reflect the dynamic nature of voice acting. Dynamic just means constantly changing. So as the industry continues to adapt to new cultural trends and audience preferences, the future role of voice actors remains an open question, meaning we don't know what the future will hold. It will probably keep evolving and changing depending on our world and what people want.
Yeah, I mean, people do want to hear a few celebrity voices in video games now. They want to hear some famous actors cast in certain roles. And for some actors, it's a good gig because, it's a good job because they don't have to do makeup. They don't have to do costume.
They think it's so much easier.
Yeah, they can come in and do some voice acting. So... And I think that means actors are now maybe taking more voice acting classes than maybe they used to.
Oh, probably.
So because it involves special skills. So it's not all bad, but it does mean if you were only a voice actor and you didn't do other jobs, then as it says, it's maybe overlooking their special skills, and it's also maybe pushing a few people out of other jobs.
Yeah.
So there are two sides to it all.
Always. Okay, guys, we hope you enjoyed learning more about voice acting and the trends that are happening today. Right now, we're going to listen one more time to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back to say goodbye.
我们接着讲解第3题，一些著名的例子包括水树奈奈和宫野真守。水树奈奈在大型场馆举办过许多场个人音乐会，而宫野真守则表演范围，包括舞台剧和电视剧。这一题4个选项全部都是动词加上 ed， 又是词汇题。我们一起来看4个选项的中文意思。A. Inserted 是插入置入， B. Inspire 是启发， C. Exhibited 是展示， D. Extended 是扩展延伸。好，根据前后文，第3题答案应该是 D. Extended 扩展延伸，就表示呢，我们前面的这些声优他们会扩充自己的表演范围。紧接着请看到第4题，在西方影视产业中，从大型剧情片到电视节目的各个领域，以家喻户晓的名人取代专业配音员的趋势，我们可以看到是日益在增长的。好，请看4个选项的中文意思。A. In other words 换句话说， B. In contrast 相比之下， C. In the same manner 以同样的方式， D. In any case 在任何情况下。好，第4题答案选 B， 相较之下，也就是拿日本声优的状况和西方配音的状况做比较。再来我们看这种做法，随着演员 Robin Williams 在1992年的 Disney 动画电影《阿拉丁》当中，他替神灯精灵发声。那这种做法呢，就开始为人所熟知了。好莱坞有很多的电影都是这样子在操作的。最后第5题，请看到他的明星效应还有即兴表演技巧，为电影这个角色增添了新的层面，引领了未来动画电影的趋势。4个选项都有动词 add， 不过呢，都有一点变化。这一题是在测验文法，由于整句并没有主要动词，后面的 setting 是分词构句的变化，再加上这是电影史上过去已经发生的事，所以我们这里用过去式 added。因此第5题正确答案是 C added。好，以上就是我们这一篇克漏字测验所做的中文讲解。那老师希望大家了解克漏字应该要如何解题。此外呢，对于日本的声优也有进一步的认识。好，谢谢大家，我们下次再见。
So that's all for today. Thanks very much, everyone, for listening to us. And I hope we brought a bit of a personal touch and a few experiences of our own into this article about the evolving roles of modern voice actors. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again soon. For English Digest, I'm Pat.
I'm Stephanie.
And we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.